G'day Earthlings, Dr. Rank here, and welcome to Gaming Legends, the show where when there's nothing left to lose, you win. Last week we did a challenge run of the remake of Sonic Generations, which also features a bonus campaign starring our favourite Hedgelord. So of course I am legally obligated to ask, can you beat Shadow Generations without boosting? Just like the last video, our goal is to beat the entire game from start to finish without using the boost mechanic. Boosting is defined as any action that uses the boost gauge. If the boost gauge doesn't deplete, it's not a boost. That said, as a bonus challenge, we'll also be avoiding actions that use the boost button without affecting the gauge, such as accelerating while skydiving. Without further ado, let's get this run started. Space Colony Arc Act 1 serves as a fantastic tutorial level, both for the game itself and the boostless run. The most obvious side effect of the run is a reduction in speed, which makes uphill slopes harder to climb. And unlike Sonic, Shadow doesn't have access to a drop dash or air dash, instead getting a double jump. This does make some routes inaccessible, but is no big deal for the most part. During the end of the level, we have a brief visit to Radical Highway Kaleidoscope Edition. Attacking the Doom's Eye here will give us one of 3 Shadow Emblems, which are required to awaken the biblically accurate demon in the sky and access the endgame. Space Colony Arc Act 2 is fairly simple in the first half, but the second half has a required Doom Wing transformation. The Doom Wings have a glide that pushes Shadow forwards at the same altitude, but it also depletes the boost gauge. Thankfully, the Doom Wings are a toggleable feature in the post-game, so the levels were already designed with a wingless route in mind. Completing Act 2 gives us a Doom Gear, which we can use in the White Space Hub world to unlock a new ability. In this case, we get the Doom Spear, allowing us to shoot at up to 5 targets at once. Rail Canyon Act 1 spends most of its time rail grinding and doesn't pose any real threats. The skydiving section in the Radical Highway visit actually makes it easier to get the emblem, as we have a much bigger window to land the homing attack on Doom's Eye. Rail Canyon Act 2 is mostly the same as Act 1, but the ending is problematic. We get chased by a bull train that we can't outrun without boosting, and it kills us instantly. We can't make Shadow go faster, but what if we made the train go slower? There's a Chaos Energy capsule just after the preceding checkpoint, which completely fills Shadow's Chaos meter. When the meter is full, Shadow can use Chaos Control, freezing time for 5 seconds. This gives us enough of a head start on the train to reach the goal in time. We now have the second Doom Gear unlocking the Doom Blast, allowing us to send enemies flying and then teleport to them. This allows us to reach the first boss gate, but it requires 3 boss keys to open. Unlike in Sonic Gens, we can't just pick and choose which challenge acts to play. We have to do all of them. None of the challenges in Space Colony Arc or Rail Canyon are any more difficult than usual, though Dash Ring Rush Level 1 did have a close call with a train at the end. Good thing it's too cowardly to actually touch us. The boss fight with the Bio Lizard requires no boosting by design, giving us the third Doom Gear and the Doom Surf ability. This allows us to travel over water and explore more of the hub world. Kingdom Valley and Sunset Heights are pushovers, with the latter giving us our final Shadow Emblem. Their challenge acts aren't a problem either, except for 2 of them. Death Egg Robot Panic has this part at the end where you have to escape the lasers. At normal speed, we simply can't run fast enough. Luckily, they don't start firing until you hit the switch. Save Chaos Control until that moment and you're golden. The other problematic challenge act is beware of pillars that pop up. Halfway through the level, we get launched into a horizontal cannon. You see the problem? But hold on a second, is that really the boost button icon? So far, I've been playing with the Legacy control scheme, which puts the boost button on square and the homing attack on the jump button as God intended. But Shadow Generations also offers a Sonic Frontiers style control scheme, which moves the boost button to R2 instead. If we use the standard controls, the cannon still tells us to press square, meaning it's just an ordinary QuickTime event. Metal Overlord is fought entirely with the Doom Surf, which doesn't even let you boost in the first place. This gives us Doom Gear number 4, unlocking the Doom Morph. Unfortunately, it has a mandatory tutorial in which we're required to use the Doom Morph's dash ability with the boost button. And yes, it is actually the boost button regardless of your control scheme. I had the thought of possibly skipping this tutorial by spending the Doom gear on a different ceiling device. I did manage to reach the Chaos Island area of the map without Doom Morph by using a Chaos Control rail from Rail Canyon, but neither the Chaos Island stage gate nor the Doom Wing device were interactable. With no other options left, I pressed square to dash with the Doom Morph and didn't lose any boost energy! We've only failed the bonus challenge, not the main challenge. Chaos Island Act 1 has a big jump at the start that I was only just barely able to cross with a running start. Despite technically being allowed to dash with Doom Morph, I decided to abstain unless I absolutely had to. Turns out, I never did. Act 2 is similarly easy, aside from this one tight jump after the gondolas. Now we can Doom Morph underground to the final boss gate and...
You don't have the 4 boss keys to open this door.
Chaos Control Master Level 3 is the hardest of the Chaos Control trilogy. Even with time frozen, getting past all the falling platforms in time was a tight squeeze. Destroy the Cyclones is a bit slower paced than normal since we can't just boost through them all. The Cyclone shields are a non-issue if we either shoot them with Chaos Spear or freeze them with Chaos Control. With all 20 challenge acts cleared and all 10 boss keys obtained, we can take on the third boss, Memphis, Tennessee. The sword attack can be dodged by jumping at the last second, but we can't advance the battle until we dash into him with Doom Morph. We need to do this multiple times over the course of the battle, but there is a way to reduce the number. In Phase 1, if you mash the homing attack button, you can stall the Doom Blast up to 3 times, then hold the button on the 4th to lock it in, allowing you to deal over 25% damage in one cycle. This lets you clear Phase 1 in 2 cycles instead of the usual 3, shaving 1 dash off the battle. This doesn't really matter for the main challenge, but it's neat! With the final Doom gear in hand, we officially unlock the Doom Wings for real this time. Just like the Doom Morph though, we're forced into a required tutorial in which we have to glide forward, draining the boost gauge. I had the thought of just waiting for my rings to run out so the Doom Wings would wear off, but every time the ring count dropped below 20, it just reset to 50 instantly. With the end game in sight, we make our first official boost of the run. The path to Radical Highway's entrance also requires boosting, one to reach the path itself, and one to reach the Black Moon. While you can teleport to stage entrances from the pause menu, you need to have played the stage first. Of course, I tried using a homing attack on the pulley at the start, but it's just barely out of range and only lowers after stepping up there in the first place. You thankfully don't need to worry about doing both boosts in one attempt, as another set of pulleys can be used to reach the end of the path once you've been there already. It's a pretty big jump, but you can just barely make it by double jumping with Doom Wings and mashing Chaos Spears to conserve mid-air momentum. Radical Highway itself might have been designed for Doom Wings, but it also has wingless routes to follow. That being said, they do still provide extra jump height and invincibility, so you'll still get some use out of them. This jump in Act 1 was scary, but just barely possible. Act 2 has tons of extremely precise platforming over rotating roads. Trust me, you'll want to keep your wings on for this. The hardest part was this bit with the gun shooters, which I had to do wingless due to an unfortunate death. I was only able to just barely reach the dash ring from the top half of the road. When the moving walls pop up immediately after, either damage boost through them or backtrack to the previous platform and let them pass. The final set of roads can be cleared by jumping onto the top face. Now we can finally face the final boss, Devil Doom. Phase 1 uses the Doom Surf, and Phase 2 is just Doom Morph platforming, so no problems here. But the final phase with Neo Devil Doom uses the Doom Wings. We do move forward automatically here, but it's a lot slower when we can't boost. There are only 2 opportunities to damage Neo Devil. The first is when he uses the Electro Worm attack, where you can use L1 and R1 to dodge roll into them for chip damage. The second is only available when his health is low. If you survive the entirety of his head slam attack without getting hit, he'll lower his head and exhaustion, giving you a chance for a homing attack. It can often be a couple minutes between these opportunities, so collect as many rings as you can in the interim, especially 10 rings. Once his health bar reaches 0, do one final set of QuickTime events to officially end the run. With Shadow handing Rouge the damn 4th Chaos Emeralds, the Shadow Generations boostless run ends with 3 boosts. Once again, you can watch the full run via the link in the description. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next video. That's all for now, and I will see you down under.
I owe much to you, Shadow.
I've ruined the lives of so many. I can't be expected to remember them all.
Out of my way.
Such a big head! Such a tiny brain!